embrace change, take risks, and dare to reinvent yourself. I'm your host, Hava Gurevich, and in this episode of I Love Your Stories, I welcome back Canadian documentary filmmaker Dennis Mohr, fresh from his AI Film Festival in Amsterdam. Feeling rejuvenated and inspired, Dennis shares his take on some of the exciting new shifts happening in the film world. We revisit our conversation about aging as an artist and finding ways to keep the creative spark alive, explore the rapid pace of AI's evolution, and dig into the rise of the AI artist expert shaping this fast changing landscape. Welcome back to the show, Dennis. Now, quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right back to the show. When I started selling my art, I had absolutely no idea how to actually turn it into a business, a professional business. And then I came across art storefronts, and that was a game changer. I've been a customer now for years, and they've been instrumental every step of the way of helping me succeed. I have a gorgeous, powerful commerce website. I have marketing tools and a membership to a community that is very supportive and teaches me how to succeed as an artist. Check them out, artstorefronts.com, and tell them Hava sent you. Progress. Hey everyone, welcome back to I Love Your Stories. And I'm here again with the filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, Dennis Mohr. Um, we had an amazing conversation about documentary filmmaking and Dennis's career in the first part of the series. So if you are tuning in for the first time to hear Dennis, do yourself a favor and go listen to the first episode first, so you can get a better idea of who Dennis is and what he's done. Um, but we're gonna pick up kind of where we left off. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank
Um,
you.
so, Dennis, tell us what's been going on.
Well, since we last spoke, I went to Amsterdam for an AI film festival, and I came back sporting this new look, a Zoom beard and a Zoom background, and I think I'm gonna stick with that. So, um,
I love the fit.
long story short, uh, I'm a documentary filmmaker and a technologist in broadcast. And if you listen to the first episode, you'll get a mouthful from me about all the details of my past. But I did work in startups in the 90s and early 2000s. So technology and media and image making have always been my bag. And later it turned into something more personal with documentary filmmaking about more esoteric kind of subjects or iconoclastic characters and quirky subject matter. And I met you when we were doing our documentary on Dis Farmer. And yeah, we've been friends ever since and collaborators. And recently, I've been turned on to AI filmmaking. And for the last 6 months, I've been learning all I can. And I pretty much have gone from 0 to 60 in 6 months. And this film festival was a return, one, for me to going to film festivals since the pandemic, and two, in this whole new realm.
Mhm.
And it was an incredible experience. So,
So wait, before you get into the experience, because I think this part is worth mentioning again. It was such
mhm.
a central point to the whole conversation last time. Kind of what happened to the film industry in the last few years, your own kind of self like evolution as a creative, and
Right.
what brought you to AI.
Well, so I finished my last I should say traditional documentary just before the pandemic, or actually just during the pandemic. And it was about a friend of mine, a New York artist and one of the last pigeon keepers in Manhattan. And he was in his 80s, and we did a documentary about his life and work. Anton Van Dalen. He did die last year. The film was well received, and it's a very good documentary about an artist and his life's work, and very proud of that. Uh, After that, the pandemic hit, and I was kind of reduced to making small little factual subjects as animated films. And those were about quirky subject matter that a friend of mine, who's an eccentric writer from the UK, writes these stories about all sorts of subject matter like that. And those turned out well. They were traditional animation, and I had a little crew of people, an editor, myself, a writer, an artist, animator, and a sound designer. And that was the last work I did. And then I decided to retire from filmmaking because the world had changed and the funding had changed and the subject matter, I felt I had kind of run with it for as long as I could, and I was focusing more on my career and technology changes that are coming up in the traditional broadcast world. However, I did stumble across AI filmmaking, and then that kind of, I would say, resurrected my interest in my desire to make films again. But in a nutshell, I was really turned on by it, and it brought me back to, in fact, like how I was got into filmmaking in the first place, Super 8 in public school, and then later in the dot-com realm where technology took over and I worked for startups and basically, digital image making from video games to the early days of online video, and new media to all sorts of applications before I got into broadcasting. And, this in a way at well, I'm in my 50s, seems to kinda go back and circle right back and revisit all those
Does it
days, my early days when I got started in digital technology.
does it have, just on a kind of psychological level, because it is a new technology and you're like a technophile, does that play into it? That's like something new that's like a starting up and you wanna be on the ground floor of it?
Exactly, and that's exactly it. So, I've had time to think since I've got back from Amsterdam and the AI Film Festival, what is your interest in this? Why have you become so obsessed with it? Why do you spend all your hours working on it? So I've gone 0 to 60 in 6 months learning it and meeting people, and since we last spoke, so many strange developments, and I thought, like, I'll bring you up to speed on all those in a minute, but, I've just followed my nose, and yes, I go back to that. This is my keen interest, even going back to public school, where I love technology and filmmaking, like the creative and the technical. And so this is no different. It just kind of satisfied all those interests and cravings. And the process itself of actually making AI films surprised me that I actually have all those same kind of satisfaction's kind of solved when I work on an AI film. It's like, "Oh, I got the great shot finally after 20 takes," I finally can see how this fit together. I can kind of direct actors. I can work with a writer, in this case, ChatGPT, and write a script. I can work with the cinematographer, the art director, which is the video generators and image generators, and I just find it's uncanny how satisfying it is and how close it is, to the process itself of regular filmmaking. I mean, you can't really compare them, but it's just a fun little, ride.
Can I ask, so since our last conversation, I started playing with ChatGPT as well, and, and I had this thought. So in our first episode, we talked a lot about the dynamic of having a crew that, you have someone to bounce ideas off of, to get a more holistic look at what you're doing. You're asking the cameraman if he has questions, you're asking the sound guy if he has questions. You've got so it's a group effort, like it's a collaboration. And um when I started working with ChatGPT, one of the things I noticed right away, first of all, just how like it's such a yes man. It's like your personal cheerleader, and, whatever you ask, like, it starts with like, "Oh, that's great, Hava. That's a strong start. Let me just tweak it a little bit for you," and things like that. Do you feel like, it's AI, and it's, as far as we know, not quite sentient yet, but, it does it feel like a kind of collaboration, or does it feel more like your assistant?
I'll tell you this, in my experience, ChatGPT is a lot more friendly and it feels more like a collaboration, and I jokingly use like, "Yes, please, thank you" with it, and, I'll get the appropriate responses. Sometimes I use Gemini, Google's, version, and I like it because it's a colder personality, if you will, and, I don't feel like it's more of a professional relationship than a friendship with ChatGPT, if you will. Both of them I use for different applications, like, if I'm using video generators in the world of the Google environment, it's sometimes better to use Gemini because it's more optimized for those tools. Gemini and Google, and I completely understand, they have way more guardrails of, protections, and so you can't always get what you want out of them. So ChatGPT is a little bit more open, within reason.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's almost like, if you let's just say these are your assistants, your collaborators, and they all each come with their own like personality,
Yes,
strengths,
and
weaknesses.
but here's, what had happened since I last met you. So I went to this AI film festival, and it was not just a film festival, but it was also a meeting of the minds, and it was conferences and just get-togethers and socializing with other filmmakers and technologists and people just interested in AI media from around the world. And so, being in Amsterdam, it was, very cosmopolitan, very international, and, the people were fantastic. So the first thing I noticed is I looked around and I thought, "Oh, what age are these people? Who are they? What are their backgrounds? Are they men, women, different nationalities?" And yes, they were all of those things. But I noticed that most of the crowd was kind of like in our age realm. Yeah. And but again, I think a lot of people that I met were already, had been in the industry for years. So this is like me, a kind of a natural evolution of where the media is going. But there were all sorts of different backgrounds. And I also found that internationally, it was great to see what other countries in the world are kind of the strongest developers of this new media. And, I found Turkey to be a big one, Poland, certainly everywhere in the world, no doubt, China, of course, pretty much from everywhere, North America, of course. So it was really eye-opening, and everybody, you know, got along great. The films, it's interesting to go to an AI film festival because the subject matter and the styles are so varied. So it's just this incredible smorgasbord, if you will, uh, of delight, I suppose. And another thing that struck me, being in the theater watching, the films, normally when I would go to a film festival, a traditional one, I hate to say this, but there's always this dread of the short film, um, program being like, it's just it's torturous sometimes. The stories and the ideas are just sometimes hard to take. I actually sat through these short films for almost 8 hours, and I loved every single one of them. There was such a difference, like, the ideas were so new and fresh and not at all kind of like what I've seen in other short film programs. Um, that's just a personal kind of observation I thought was kind of funny.
So
Um,
would you say that there's what I'm hearing so far, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, please.
Um, a couple of things. One of the notes that I wrote down because you're mentioning like Poland, Turkey, China, and uh, I don't know where they typically stand. I mean, I know China is up there in technology. I don't know about Turkey and Poland, but one thing occurred to me is that y- you know using AI tools, it is a kind of equalizer in terms of what part of the world you're coming from, what your budget is. You don't have to have a multi-million dollar budget and hire like a film crew and a sound person, and a stage and everything like that. So, and that kind of like democratization of media and democratization of ideas. And the other thought I had, and so that while the ideas are new and fresh and young, the industry that is absorbing it is still a kind of established industry, and there's players in that industry that have, been around for a while. Am I, like
Well, the first part, you're exactly right. It's the democratization of ideas and content, and it puts um, tools into the hands of anyone who wants to create something. And that was exactly true. And a lot of the people I met, one, for example, was this producer, not much younger than me, and he was a producer from the Republic of Georgia working on a television series, limited budget, and like here in Canada, their mandate in public television is to promote their culture and their country. And he was tasked with telling these stories about the history of his country and this town and these medieval battles that
Mm.
had taken place. And there was no way he could afford, or the broadcaster could afford, to recreate those, of course. And he showed me some of his AI work, and he had a small crew, two 18-year-olds and himself working on this series. And I couldn't believe it. Like, the battle scenes were incredible. You would never be able to even recreate something that detailed. It was fantastic. So I met a lot of people like that. And like, again, with the same stories, that they wouldn't be able to do this
Mhm.
without this technology. It would cost a fortune. And even so, you wouldn't even be able to stage it and make it look as good as AI. And this is just at the present day. Just wait till next year and the year after that. So it does certainly put power into the hands of lower budget
Mm.
projects. And to your second part, it wasn't just showing films, it was also socializing, and there were lots of forums and conferences and speakers from all over the world and people sharing ideas. And there's certainly young people, don't get me wrong. It was a variety of people, all backgrounds and ages, men, women. And the funny thing is that it became less of a singular kind of creative process now, having these other people at your fingertips when you need help. So there is the collaboration now. It's just a little bit more virtual than before. So you still collaborate with people who are good at music programs or sound design, or maybe somebody's really good with one type of software process and you're not. And so the collaboration kind of came back. And I'm excited to go to another one. I just have to produce something to get in, but you can also go to these things whether or not you have a film in. They are conferences and forums, and I was really, really impressed, and I had such a good time, and I think everyone else felt the same. And so now it's in its infancy. So the sponsors of these kinds of things are the software companies who are developing these tools. So they're the ones with money and deep pockets with venture capitalists and whatnot. Whether they'll all shake out or not, they're looking for artists to join them to promote their software. So they're the ones driving the industry now, looking to be absorbed or taken over. But eventually, look,
Yeah.
business has been around forever, especially Hollywood. They are on the verge of probably taking over all this stuff. I really don't believe there'll be a complete democratization. I think it'll just be like it's always been, is that, people will be kind of like, "Yeah, go ahead, make your film, like, it's fun, show your family and friends," and the rest of it'll just be owned and dictated and driven by the industry. Now, having said that, when I came back home, a little group of us in Toronto, we had started the Toronto AI Film Group and only had 1 meeting. So when I came back, I gave them the same kind of, uh download of what I had seen there. And recently we had our second meeting and it just blossomed. We had a professional space, a few of us presented, we had more than 50 people, we had the
Amazing.
maximum. We had probably had almost close to 100 people wanting to come, but we just couldn't fit everyone in. So it's just kind of exploded. And these AI film groups around the world are finding the same thing. And again, same cross section I saw at the festival, young, old, men, women, whatever, people from different backgrounds. And I just thought, like, this is like fantastic. It's exploded. What have we created here as being one of these founding members? So I kind of think like, wow, and within 4 weeks or something, all of a sudden we notice that there are job boards with all sorts of jobs for AI artists. And we're thinking like, this is just exploding, right? Worldwide.
Yeah.
And being in touch with all these people now I'm starting to recognize all sorts of people I know in the industry, and I wouldn't call it small, but it's a little bit intimate right now, and I think people are very conscious about losing that family feel of it all, because we're all going down the same path. So it's very exciting, and it's very, very new. We'll see where it all goes. And then the most exciting news, I think, is that after this group and after coming back from Amsterdam and realizing we've got a strong knit, talented group in Toronto, a few of us from Toronto were hired as AI artists to work on a documentary series
Oh my
for
God, everything.
broadcast, you could say, and streaming. I can't talk about the specifics of the project, but what was really interesting is that this new startup company in Los Angeles, founded by four people who had been in the industry for quite a while, but they were early adopters of AI, started this nice company, and they're nice people. And one of them happens to be from Toronto originally, that develops AI recreations for, lower budget documentary series. So that, again, back to your point, the democratization, it allows people to have like a fighting chance, you will, against like higher end special effects and bigger budgets.
Oh,
So we're all kind of now working through the process, the technology, us as individual artists are learning a lot, changing what we knew. And we're still in the middle of it, and we'll see where it all goes. But the money is actually good. It's on par, if not a little bit more than what I make at my professional job in broadcasting. So that's where I'm at. It just has been like a whirlwind experience, and I know I'm talking again a lot, like the first part, but I can't believe how fast everything is moving.
it's
And look, there are haters out there and naysayers, fine. I get it, and I
okay.
I
Wait,
completely
wait.
believe. Yeah.
Hold on a second. You, in our first conversation, even though you're excited to personally work on an AI project, you had very negative ideas about where AI is headed in general. Has that changed?
No, I listen to the podcast, and I still believe that I don't think it's gonna end up well. That's just my gut feeling.
But it's happening whether you want it or not, so you might as well get on board.
Well, if you're interested in it, sure. I mean, I don't think traditional storytelling will go away. One of the things we learned with this series is you can't really do a push button technology yet. We spend a lot of times pulling out our hair trying to figure out how to do something. There are simple functions that it does well, and there are simple functions it doesn't do well.
Mm.
However, I got a glimpse, and developing an episode that I worked on myself, I got a glimpse that yes, this will work, and it does work.
One of the things as you were talking that, I was reminded of is back in the '90s when, like, young kids, I think they were getting plucked out of high school. If you had any kind of, like, played video games on computers, tech companies were plucking you out of, everywhere and paying you, like, huge salaries to start, like, working on dot coms. I'm it's just it's really exciting that this thing that started as a way for you to get back to being creative and just kinda have some fun, and then having a little success and getting to go to this place, and from there, the networking and the opportunities and the ideas, and now it's just turned into this full-blown new career. So
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I look back on it the other day and I thought, you know, in exactly my path has been what you described. I pretty much out of college, film school, I got into video game
mhm.
production as the media guy, the video guy, the media guy, the storytelling part with my friend who is a writer, who is still a collaborator of mine on films after all these years since we started in high school. So that was our first kind of real salary job was video games in the 90s. And so say I was 25 then and I'm in my 50s now, like 25, 30 years later, I'm going back full circle and experience the same kind of excitement and and evolution, if you will, of this kind of image making technology. But I kind of stopped and asked myself as a little bit of an aside, a joke, is like, would you prefer to be making films the way you made them, say, in the Super 8 days when you were free and it was fun in high school? Would you prefer to be making the kind of technology you did in the video game days? Would you prefer to be making films the way you made them, the traditional documentaries? And You know what the answer was? I would I only choose what I'm doing now. I would rather do what I'm doing now with this new technology than any of those other things, and that's the honest answer.
That is the best answer. You asked that question in the first episode, like, can you stay creative as we age? Can you
Right.
have this like second wind? Can you restart again? And since then I've been thinking about it myself because in a sense that's what I did. Like I've been an artist for 30, 40, I mean, I've been an artist for a very long time. But it's only very recently that I made this kind of leap to turn that into a business and a career and to like actually I'm more creative now and doing more painting now and more projects and more opportunities and exhibitions than ever before.
And
And
you've always embraced the latest technologies when it served you, and I always remember that, so it just goes hand in hand, I suppose.
I mean, I think there's something there that it would take me a while to kind of articulate, but has to do with just being on that staying in that flow of like where your where technology is going, where your chosen industry is going, where just sort of like humanity collectively where we're going in that kind of creative space. And when you do, you find that opportunities are there and it feels right. It feels like you're in the right place at the right time and can't think of a better place to be, right?
That's exactly where I'm at, and it's just maybe a bit of dumb luck. I feel very fortunate, and on the AI front, I get to experience the evolution of this type of filmmaking, and fortunate enough that my first professional job was actually in documentary, in making recreations for a cool documentary series with AI recreations.
Because I remember I asked, like I had that as a question. I was like, I can see it being used for advertising and special effects in movies, but how can you use it in documentaries? And you said that they're, yes, like recreations. And indeed, there here you are doing that. And it feels like a full circle for you. And that's pretty awesome.
It's crazy because on a personal level, I've always been afraid of change, and I don't like change, and I don't like getting older. But there's nothing you can do about those things. So I'm fortunate that I have these things in front of me. And look at put it this way, what's kind of funny about say the AI world is that as you get older, I wouldn't even be able to, in my age now, to deal with standing on my feet 12 hours a day on set filming something or doing 5 setups or 3 setups or even 2 setups a day and traveling around the city filming, even with a small crew like we did in New York. I wouldn't be able to physically do that. I need my sleep, you know? You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's um I think it's really encouraging that you're saying that suddenly there's all these jobs opening up for AI artists. And that's really encouraging for me to hear if if anybody can if I, anyone can just press a button and create something of the same quality, then there wouldn't be need for artists to be hired to do that, which tells me that AI art is starting to reach a level where being an artist, having creativity and vision and expertise and applying that like learning about this new technology is actually now an emerging field. So it's not, so in that, I think when we talk about like, is AI going to replace everything we do? No, because you still need people who can collaborate with it, give it the right information, and have sort of the ability to discern what is good, what isn't, take it in a different direction. It's some of the skills are new, but on a meta level, it's still skills, and I find that highly optimistic. I don't see myself going into AI art because I really enjoy the physicality of painting, but I've been uh, I've been playing around with how AI can help me generate ideas. I've been inspired lately to kind of like step out of my comfort zone and see where it goes. And I was sort of like interested in how AI can help me do that. Like the artistic part of it is still going to be me, but it's a tool that is helping immensely get it started, and I'm really optimistic. I feel even more optimistic about where things are going with AI after talking to you about this, and that's I love that.
Well, I'll finish with 2 things. You're absolutely right again, is that, as a creative, you don't necessarily have to be creative to use it, and I think that's absolutely liberating for everyone.
Mhm.
On the other hand, it depends where you wanna take it, if you're into whatever, genre, go with it. But I also think you're right, is that eventually this technology is going to be just simple and push button that
Mhm.
anybody can do it and get the same results. So what's left is, the creative person with some kind of originality. So that's not gonna go away, that's gonna become more important. And right now, I also find that people who have traditional media experience are some of the better artists out there and the more efficient.
This has been an amazing conversation, and I'm so excited for, like, all the things that are happening in your life, and, just even listening to that, it gives me a lot of hope, for what the future holds with that technology, but also just this idea that, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to embrace change and embrace new opportunities, and
I guess it's kind of funny that I don't know if I would say I feel vindicated, but when people ask me, "So this is all cool, but so what?" It's like, well, there's actually money to be made and there's, uh,
starting a
things things to do with it and in any genre. And then finally, what I like about it personally is that because my whole life has been linked to technology and creativity is that I get to be part of what I do professionally, which is help develop new workflows, help develop new ways of production methods, new ways of using technology to basically evolve image making. And that's kind of what it's all about for me. And if I get paid, great. If I don't, well, I would still play around with the technology just to be on top of it. And, so I'm very, very satisfied, and yes, it has been a whirlwind since we last spoke, and I'm glad to that you gave me this opportunity to bring you up to speed, and, hopefully, I can have something more to report in another few months or whenever, we have time to do this again.
Thank you so much for coming back on the show and for bringing us all up to speed with all the exciting stuff happening in the world of AI.
Yeah, thank you. I love the program. It's great.
Thank you. Thanks again for tuning in. That's our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please help us out by leaving a review, a comment, subscribing, sharing it with your friends. Every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. And before we go, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor and producer, Art Storefronts. If you've been thinking about turning your art into a real business or just want to level up your online presence, now is honestly the best time, especially with the holiday selling season coming up in Q4. I can't stress this enough. Art Storefronts isn't just a website builder. They're a full-blown partner for your art business. They give you the tools, education, and marketing support to actually make sales, not just sit online and hope. And if you're unsure whether your art will sell, no worries. Just head to artstorefronts.com and sign up for a demo. They'll give you a free art review and a marketing assessment of your art to show you exactly what's possible. So go to artstorefronts.com, tell them Hava sent you, and I'll catch you on the next episode.